Oh, got recorded has started, so that's fantastic. Fab. So yeah, going back to kind of what we were just chatting about there,
Yeah.
Susan, was around about your initial experience. How did you start that journey looking for Carmen to go to the USA? What when she mentioned she was fancying going along
Yeah.
that route?
So when she decided that she definitely wanted to go to the States, it was just sort of out of the blue because that wasn't the plan. And then she was at a competition and we was approached by one of these I keep saying recruiting agencies, or one of these sports agencies which gets you helps you get over to the States. Um, so I was approached by I knew of them, a couple of them, and I was approached by one. Um, and at the time, uh, really nice. That was great. Had a good chat with him. Came home and we thought, right, we need to get the ball rolling because we was led to believe that if you don't do it within this time frame, she'll miss this opportunity this year and it'll be next year before she gets to go. So looked into it and basically just sort of signed up before giving it uh, too much thought. Now, like I was just saying, that was fine. And it cost us just over £3,000, I think it was. Now I would have, looking back, I would have done that differently. Um, I would have, because I got other information from other sources, um, that basically the level Carmen was competing at, because she was competing nationally and internationally, that if we had done our homework, done our research, um, we would have probably been able to reach out to the unis who would have quite possibly, Carmen could have done that on her own because she had such a good CV with her golf. Now, that being said, I know there's a couple of the other players went on their own and that was all good. They managed to get themselves good unis. With Carmen, they reckoned it would have just been a case of putting out just emailing lots of different unis and seeing if she could pick up, some contacts there, speak to the coaches and take it from there. But she did have a good CV, golf CV to go along with that. That is the first thing I would have done differently because I felt that we paid really £3,000 just for somebody to send emails. Because after that, a lot of the groundwork or a lot of the work that was done to get her over to the States, we ended up doing, and this agency did very little really because I think it was just easy money. I'm just moving inside because that's the rain coming on.
Oh,
So yeah, so that's basically how that went about. So like I said, if it was to do that again, um, I would think I would sit with it a wee while rather than feel pressured into to go in. And I think it's something that would be really good for Scottish golf to get behind because so many of the up and coming golfers, they want to go to the States. They want to compete against the best amateurs. So yeah, that's something that I would definitely do differently.
okay. So when you said about, so they like basically sent the emails and maybe identified unis, what was the other groundwork that you had to do to then get, Carmen over to the States? Was there a lot of like paperwork, like visas and stuff like that, or what was this other things you had to put in place?
Yeah, we had to. So she had to do like a SAT test, um, which again, a lot of it we ended up doing ourselves. Visas. She had to go down to London to get the visa. There was various stuff like that. Now we felt that all that should have came from this company that this agency that what would you say, we're supposed to do all that for us. So we did all the groundwork, got all this, and then we just emailed them checking that we had got the right information. We just felt we were paying £3,000 for them to send an email, but we were doing all the groundwork to get there. You know, like I say, the visa. There was other things that she needed as well, but I can't remember what that was. Even right down to Claire, even right down to once they'd reached out, we put out the emails and we had unis contacting us. They didn't sit in like in a Teams meeting with Carmen. She was just sat there with the unis talking themselves, whereas I know other agencies, they sit in with the conversation that, you know, when you're being introduced to your to the coaches and stuff like that, and they know the questions to ask, and then once you come out of that, off that call, they'll maybe sit with you and go over, oh, well, what did you think, what's your feelings, and there was none of that. So that was a really bad, I just wish we'd been really would sat with that a bit better.
Yeah, it's clear that there was maybe a little bit of pressure initially as well, and it's maybe just taking that step back
Absolutely.
before,
This company knew the level Carmen was competing at. I just think it was easy money, and I thought afterwards we thought, oh, we'll definitely do that differently. And also when Carmen was competing after that, and I knew other younger ones that were wanting to go to the States, myself and my husband, Alistair, we were saying there should really be something to help guide you, because we just felt like we wasted all that money. You know?
Yeah, which is fair given what
Yeah.
you've said. So yeah, no, definitely. So once Carmen had chosen the uni and she did speak around about, you know, her meeting the coach and how
Yeah.
influential the coach has been on her journey.
Yeah.
How did you find that transition from rural Aberdeenshire over to America for Carmen? How did you support that, I suppose, that process, and emotionally, how did you cope with it as well?
Well, I think one of the first things that was really important for us as parents, and getting back to Carmen meeting the coaches, it's for us, it was really important that we found a coach that connected with Carmen's personality. And I remember Carmen coming out, you know, she'd had a few FaceTimes with the coaches herself and then with us. And she just said, Mum, they make me feel like I feel like it feels like home. And how the coaches made her feel. So as parents, we could see that. So that was a massive reassurance for us. I thought they just connect well with Carmen's personality. Now, she had a few different calls with coaches, and there was a couple of coaches, and I thought, oh, they're probably really good coaches, but not right for Carmen's personality. I think the coach that Carmen picked, where she's at now, she's a good coach, and basically made Carmen feel like I'll be your mum over here, mum away from home, you know.
Yeah, fantastic.
And so that was, as parents, that was a massive reassurance. And she also said as well, you know, the coach said, I'm available 24/7 at the end of the phone. It's, you know, I know how difficult it is. So that was the first thing. Also as well, at the time Carmen went, it was during COVID, so we couldn't go over. So she could go over, but we couldn't go with her. But just having that reassurance that they connected well. Carmen just, the energy was right, it just flowed, you know. You know, and each time I could hear her on the video calls, and I thought, she is completely at ease with this coach. And when Carmen's relaxed like that and comfortable in people's company, you know, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. So that was, I think, one of the main things that was. We knew she was going to be looked after when she went there, not just as a team player, but just a young girl away from home. You know, she's a freshman, massive uni. They're in a bubble. They're protected. The athletes are very protected. You know, that's one thing I would say about going to the States, whether it's golf or anything. They keep them very busy, but they're well looked after. So that, I think that's one of the main things. But for us mentally as well, Carmen going out there is, I mean, it's a different world nowadays. You've got FaceTime, you've got all these sort of things. And one of the other things that was very important to us for Carmen going over there was, you know, a lot of golfers want to go. I want to go to the hottest place. I want to go to Florida. I want to go because it's nice and warm. One of the things that was important was that Carmen went somewhere that had a decent time difference. So I think Louisville's like 5 hours behind us. I think she got approached by, I think it was Arizona and a couple of other places further west. Now that would have been like an 8-hour time difference, which meant it kind of cut out when we could keep up with her.
Yeah.
You know, so the 5 hours, she, you know, and that helped narrow it down, because it meant that, well, you know, we're here, you know, for, you know, you can be phoning us at, or FaceTiming us at tea time, 10 o'clock at night, and it's that time difference was okay, you know.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's something that hasn't come up actually, but yeah, massive. Yeah, that's
yeah. It's one of the things, Claire, that we had a wee list with Carmen of things that was important to us, and that was one of the ones for Carmen and ourselves, was because you know, I know some people that have gone out there and they struggle because it's important that they have that connection and support from home as well. And you can do that if they feel that, you know, oh, I can't phone mum, it's the middle of the night, or, you know. So the 5 hours was what we thought, right? 5, maybe 6 hours difference, but no, that was really important for us.
oh no, that's brilliant. Yeah, and I suppose as well when Carmen's coming home, because I know she's come home in the summer to play, the recovery from the travel isn't as much as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not something that a lot of people would think about. But yeah, like you say, you know, when she comes back, I got it sussed now with what's the best flight time. So I always try to get flights round about what's a suitable time. And she usually comes into Aberdeen about 10 in the morning, and she comes back and she'll sleep for a few hours, and then that's her. So that's really important, you know.
Yeah, brilliant, good stuff. So that's kind of like taken into the first 6 months. How have you felt as the journey's gone on? What have you seen in terms of how's it been for you as a family, but also in terms of any changes in Carmen or you know, in terms of, because I know that she's golfing, but she's also studying as well and is
Yeah.
doing very well with her studies. So
Mm-hmm.
you know, what's your thoughts on that side of things?
So the changes in Carmen, I always think if you're, you know, if they're happy, you're happy, you know. And don't get me wrong, it's not all plain sailing, you know, but because she's done her groundwork and picked, you know, she likes it, she's comfortable where she's at. She's doing well where there's not a, she hasn't picked a university that she's the grades are great, like Stanford or some of these ones that she's not above her means, you know what I mean, where
Okay, yeah.
so the picking Louisville, it's great, she's comfortable with the coaching team, comfortable coach, the hours, keeping up with us, and she's flourishing because of it, you know. There's no, when she was choosing a team as well, she wanted to pick a team where she knew she would be scoring enough to get selected for the team, but there was no massive pressure either to, you know, like everybody's a bit better than her, you know, and she was feeling pressure to get into the team, you know. She thought, if I can be at the, pick somewhere where I'm maybe going to be middle of the team and I've got people pushing me a little bit, but not to the pressure that I think, oh no, I'm feeling, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So all these little things have contributed to her being comfortable over there. And like I say, sometimes it's not easy, you know, but with all these little things being in the right place, she's happy. So we're getting a happy Carmen on the end of the phone, and which settles us.
Yeah, yeah. Oh no, that's amazing. That's really, really important.
Yeah.
So I know you mentioned at the start around about the challenges and the agency and maybe doing things a little bit different. Has there been any other challenges that you've thought, oh, actually, or as you once she was kind of grounded and sorted and all you've got a really positive story
Mm-hmm.
within that journey. Is there anything else you're thinking, oh, actually maybe this would be good or that would be good? Or obviously we know COVID was part of that, which
Yeah.
hopefully we won't face again.
Yeah. Oh God, I know. Well, I think what something that, do you know what it's like doing the groundwork to eliminate things that your child, the person that's looking to go to the States, and things like we made sure there was good support, there was good sports psychologists, she got good support when, it's basically if you don't keep up your grades, you don't get in the team. So we made sure there was support. What type of support would you get if it took her a minute to adjust to studying in the States? Another big thing is being homesick. If she's homesick and feeling that she's struggling with various things, how, how good's the support team there? And things like when they go there, it's full on. It is really full on. The studying's full on, the golf's full on. But if they've got the right support there to support their personality, then that affects how they perform. How happy they are. We made sure as well. One of the other things that was on Carmen's tick list, which I think it's something that maybe a lot of parents wouldn't think about as well, is the facilities. How close is the golf course to where Carmen stays, because she doesn't have a car. She doesn't have a car, and some of the golf courses for practicing, or the practice facilities, are not always on campus. Might be a half drive, and you rely on other team members to take you there and pick you up and drop you off. So, well, like Louisville, they've got great facilities on campus. They've got a training house, training hut. Can't remember what they call it. Indoor facilities is great. Their golf course is a half-hour drive away. Now that frustrates Carmen sometimes, but the good outweighs that.
Yeah.
And because she, like I say, she doesn't have a car over there, which I'm glad about. I know some people buy their kids cars, but I'm glad she doesn't have a car, because I wouldn't want her driving over there. So I think it's important to make sure that the facilities are on campus. You'll find that a lot of like their holidays, like their what do you call it, Thanksgiving and stuff like that, that everybody at uni basically goes home apart from your internationalists, so they can be left there themselves occasionally. I mean, they do make friends and go back to their houses for Thanksgiving and stuff like that, but it's important that they've got facilities there so they can keep up their training, they can keep themselves busy during all these times, because it's a lonely time, and that's when you can feel homesick as well.
Yeah, no, no, definitely. And that's a really good point as well, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
not as if you can just jump on a plane, a whim. It needs to be planned, really,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
um,
the first year she stayed on campus, and that was difficult for us as parents, because they've got almost a week on campus. The Americans are celebrating Thanksgiving, and Carmen would be walking down to the training facilities, and she would video call us, because we felt anxious, because she was walking about campus when there's not many people there. Do you know what I mean? And I was always worried that what if she gets attacked? What, you know, all the mum things.
Yeah.
All these things go through your head. You know, how safe is it? And then, you know, I think the following year she had friends, so she went back to theirs at Thanksgiving. But it's all these things. If you've got everything there and close to you, it just makes it easier. But I think a key point, Claire, is know your child, know what, you know, you want to eliminate the stress. It's a stressful move going over there. You want to eliminate that. And it's very easy for them to say, I want to go somewhere hot, you know, where it's always warm, and I want to do this. But you've got to put the parent head on and say, right, that's fair enough. But what about this, this, and this as well, you know? And, you know, I know sometimes Carmen, she's felt isolated because even getting, I mean, I know they've got their scholarship and they get food and stuff like that, but they still have to get out and get their food shopping.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's some days it's like she'll say, oh, I haven't been able to get a food shop. Nobody else is going to the supermarket. So it's knowing that, right, you can message one of your coaches and they'll get you there, you know. It's just having that. It's having that. But it's all these wee things that, these little things are big things over there because they don't have their family there, you know.
Yeah, no, definitely. So that sounds to me in terms of, because my last question for you was going to be around about like a top tip. And there's two things that have come out, and correct me if I'm wrong, is one thing is around about having that priority checklist of what's important.
Yes. Yeah.
And you know, like you said, the time difference, you know, the coaching, the support networks, and making sure that you're clicking with that coach.
Yes.
You know that she's got support round about her when you just can't get to her, that
Yeah.
she's got the facilities that she needs, because like you say, you're not there to be able to support that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So is that kind of what I'm taking as the top tips, or is there anything
Yeah.
else that's springing
Yeah.
to mind?
Yeah, I think it's so easy to get caught up in their excitement. They want to go to the States. And I think looking at there's a couple of people that Carmen knows that's gone over that's lasted a year and come back again. Some of them, and this is not a negative, I know one or two of them went into a team that was too, not say too good for them, but they struggle to make the team, which puts pressure on you. And then you're left, I think it just affects their mental health, you know, and with being away from home, away from people, and too much pressure trying to make the team. And then you're setting yourself up to fail. Whereas if you know, we took a bit of time. Another really important thing, because I'll forget about this, is making sure that you select somewhere that you can handle the heat. You know, Louisville is similar forecast, similar weather temperatures to here. Now Carmen got a couple of offers from like Arizona and places like that, which are a higher up uni, but she doesn't cope well in the heat, and it would have affected her negatively, I think, you know.
Yeah.
So that's really, you know, that's quite important. I think I think if you've got a good support network, and what Carmen's probably said to you, if you, it's just finding a place that you think, I can be myself here, I feel comfortable, and it feels
Yeah.
right, you know.
Carmen said the same as yourself earlier on. She kind of had a home from home, and I think that sounds
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
very much at the heart of what's made it successful for Carmen. But also, you're saying the same thing as a mum, going, I know that she's comfortable over there and it feels like a home from home. So that sounds really important at the heart of everything. And I know she's over for golf, but for a well-being element of it is that she feels like she's got the right place.
Yeah. I mean, Carmen's coach, we just sort of clicked with her, and for Carmen it was, you know, she's quite assertive. The coach was quite assertive, a lot of knowledge, but also I'm here 24/7, Carmen, if you need me for anything, and I'll be your mum away from home. But she had that sort of nature about her. And you just thought, that's what a mum wants to hear, and that's what Carmen wanted to hear, you know.
Yeah.
And she, that's is totally genuine. That's how she is. And there was a couple of coaches that Carmen connected with, like I say, better unis, but I didn't get that vibe that, you know, I thought, you know, it's all about, yeah, we'll get here, we'll get you progressing, and you'll do this. Whereas Carmen's personality, she progresses better if she's slightly more relaxed, and it just suited her personality. She just,
Yeah. It
yeah,
sounds like you've very much looked at the holistic side of stuff. While golf's really important, while study's really important, but
yeah,
that whole well-being and that human
yeah,
element of it, like Carmen has
yeah.
to function away from these things as well.
I
That
mean,
has
going
been at the
over
heart
here
of the
is,
decision.
you know, is completely different to, you know, I mean, Carmen was, they're young when they go there, and it's going to the States. It's a completely different way of doing things to here. You know, didn't get me wrong that when they look after their athletes and they throw everything at them, if they're doing well, they throw everything at their athletes. They're proud of them, and they are well looked after. But they need, you know, I think it matters what stage you go at. The homesick feeling can be overwhelming for them, you know, and they need to know that they've got a family out there that's there for them as well, you know.
Yeah, no, definitely. So I don't have anything else to ask you, Susan. That's been great. You know, you've really picked out some really key things that I'll take us off record now. And here we go.